Hey, what's up, everyone? So I probably mentioned this maybe on a post. I don't remember exactly, but we're only going to be doing 1 hour tonight. I'm not doing 2 hours of this Q&A because it's been a pretty long day and I have a ton of shit to get caught up on. I know there's a holiday tomorrow, which is going to give me some time. I know orders aren't going out. So for anybody who has core orders, you should know that I don't ship on holidays just because of the delay with FedEx. And I've done it before. It just hasn't worked out. So those orders will be pushed back to Tuesday. So you might hear the 3D printers in the background. Let me know if you guys can hear it. I'll be quiet. I don't know if you can, but they're right on my desk here, and I have them going full blown for those Hannah Checker racks that I just started selling the other day. So yeah, I had to get another printer because there was too many orders. It was going to take multiple weeks to get this stuff out, so I didn't want to deal with that. But anyway, so yeah, we're going to do 1 hour Q&A. We'll see what's going on. I guess we'll wait for people to get in. Let's see. I guess I could talk about the 300. I had some issues with it the last few days. The Worldwide Corals yellow tip started to get a little bit of STN at the bottom, and one of the branches died on me today. And one other coral in the tank is also doing the same thing. And I know what it is. As I mentioned, I did a 70. Yeah, I think I said this in a video this week. I did a 70-gallon water change to get rid of the detritus in the 40-gallon breeder, as well as in the 300. And it's just 70 gallons altogether. And I ended up bottoming out my nutrients completely. I had a feeling before I did it, I was like, well, I don't want I don't want these particles flying over the place. So let me just do a quick water change. And I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I did, and ended up bottoming out my nitrates and phosphates. I mean, to straight zero. A couple of the colonies in the 300 went pale within like 3 days. Like, not bad where they're going to die or anything, at least not at the moment. And I tested, of course, zero nitrates, zero phosphates, and it was just a huge pain in the ass. So you guys don't hear the printers. That's good. Okay, Jeff, thanks for letting me know. So yeah, I got a little bit of STN because of the nutrients, and I added all that lighting, added more power heads and flow. So there's just been a lot of changes to the overall system. I don't know why I even called it 300 anymore. I think just because of the display, but it's like 500 gallons now. And yeah, so I'm kind of irritated on the fact that I did that. I did it knowing that I was going to do it, and I just didn't want the particles flying over the tank. So there's a little bit of OCD there. Got the best of me at this time, at least. And yeah, so the tank is going to take several weeks to recover, and hopefully I don't lose any major colonies. That WWC is just, it's so close to coming out of the water. A lot of you guys were asking me, why am I not getting any yellow polyps on that coral? And I mentioned that I'm only getting yellow polyps in my frag tank with it because I'm not it's like 600, 700 par, even higher where it is right now. And it just won't show the yellow polyps. Even with my nutrients being elevated, I still won't get them. So it's kind of sucks. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into this. Let's see what kind of questions. Remember, there is a delay, so I'll do my best to keep up if we have that many people. But again, yeah, we're only going to do 1 hour, so we're going to go to 8 p.m. So let's see what we have here. Yeah, hopefully, hey, Hex, hopefully you're feeling better. Yeah, I had, I don't know what it was. It was only like 3 days, but it was just headache, lungs, and I was starting to lose my voice. And you guys know that I do voiceover, so it just wasn't happening. Couldn't sit in front of the camera or anything like that. So I just took a few days off, which was really weird, taking some time off, because I try to create content every single day, and taking, what was it, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off. It was just really weird. But yeah, it's not too bad. Whatever it is, it's gone for now. Question here: Are you still doing tank builds for combat vets and with disabilities? Yes, I am. I am doing them. I just did one in Ohio, and I'm waiting for Mike to send me all of his pictures and everything for that build, because we couldn't complete it while I was there because we had to leave with weather and time and school and all stuff the next day. It was just a big pain getting there with everything going on. And so I'm waiting for him to finish up the build. He's been sick for a couple weeks. So once he's done, he's going to send over the pictures, and I'm going to do like a slideshow for you guys for that build. And the next one is going to be here, probably in Pennsylvania. I'll probably just drop ship a tank to somebody. We're just going to wait for this one to get done before we move on to the next one. Moving down here. Fish Fex. I did an ICP test, and my silicates are super high. How can I lower them? I've been battling diatoms since the setup in my tank a year ago. A lot of that stuff comes from sand, at least from what I read. And when I had the issue with it, it was when I was using reef crystals. And then when I switched to the blue box, Actually, I went from Reef Crystals to HW Marine Mix and then to the Fritz Blue Box, and I haven't had an issue with it since. So a lot of that stuff comes from the salt that you're using, Nick. So I don't know what you're using, and that would be my recommendations for trying to remove it is to switch to a better salt and not have an issue with it. Moving down here. Do you have a media feed to your Apex dashboard? If so, what hardware are you using? Okay, so what do you mean? Like, do I have like something you guys can see what I have going on? Is that what you mean? I don't really understand what you're asking. So as for hardware on the Apex, I have Jesus Christ, I don't even want to go through the whole list. I have the whole fish room running. Even the fans bringing the air out of the freaking fish room is on the Apex. I would say go to my Apex playlist. You should be pretty easy to find here on the YouTube, and you'll be able to see everything that I've done with the Apex so far. It's pretty much all I can sum it up. There's just too much to talk about, but I have a lot of shit rolling on the Apex. Let me get down here. All right, here we go. Jeff, since your favorite is Red Planet, I had to get one. Love the colors and some awesome polyps. Little 1-inch frag for now. Yeah, I have a little bit of it left in the 40-gallon, and I have a small frag of it on a grow-out plate in the grow-out tanks there. The one in the 300 is completely dead. It got mowed over. There's nothing. I can't do anything to save it. And that's something that I'm seeing now. It's, this is my first official like full SPS tank. You guys know that the 125 had a lot of LPS and stuff in it at the bottom at least. But this is the first one where I'm having some serious issues with corals just wiping each other out completely, like no holds bar. They're just taking each other to town. So unfortunately, I lost that Red Planet in the process, so that really sucks. But hopefully the one in the 40 breeder will grow out. Sorry, I'm pausing here because I'm burping. I'm drinking some tea here. Let's go ahead and see what we got here. Okay, so how would you go about starting to sell frags? Local. Your frag swaps is your best bet. Build a name for yourself. You guys know that I don't have a lot of high-end frags in this tank. I don't have a lot of stuff that's really big money, which is probably a good thing too. But you got to build a name for yourself if you're going to start selling frags. And the YouTube here is the way that I do that. And of course, you guys know I moved into other things, NO3, PO4, 3D printed stuff. You guys know I do one-on-one, all that kind of crap. But your best bet is just to start building your name. And if you're not going to run YouTube channel, then you should start trying to sell locally. See if your local fish store will even do some trades and stuff with you, or maybe just give you store credit. Anything's going to help, but usually local swaps is the best bet. Now, I got a lot of questions about starting a YouTube channel, and if it's something that you should do, and kind of how much work it takes to keep a YouTube channel going. I will say that it's a ton of work. There's a lot of stuff that you guys don't see just on a daily basis. It's kind of like when you're trying to make it's like when you want to get something done, like even just changing out some DI resin. I wanted to make a video showing you guys the vacuum sealing process and all that kind of stuff that I do. And I nixed it because I was like, well, now I got to record this, record that, and do this, do that, just to do something very simple so I could share it with you. So if you have the patience and you're able to, there's the freaking power heads blowing over there. If you're able to, sit down and create the content, and you can keep, stick through it and, let the trolls be trolls, then you can try YouTube. That's a good way to get your name out there. Moving down here. You sent me a turtle cube recipe. Yeah, I got that. I got to look at it, see what I can do for the turtle. What do you think of the Radeon G5s? Are you going to get them or stick to the 4s? I plan on getting 4s if they go down in price. I haven't even looked at the 5s. I saw an article pop up. It's not even on my radar, to be honest with you. I have no plans of upgrading to the 5s. Just like with anything that new that comes out, I really don't mess with. I know a lot of people try to get the newest thing so they can do content on it and get the views and all that shit. I don't care. I'm not even going to look at the 5s until they're at least a year, if not 2 years old. Just because usually, just like with the Trident, I waited for it be a little bit older before I decided to end up getting it, just because you kind of want to see what goes wrong with them first before you put your money into them. That's just kind of how I've been with pretty much any electronic. I usually just wait a little while and see what kind of bugs come out before I drop any money on it. So no, not interested, at least not for now. Plus, I have a ton of freaking XR15 Pros, and they're doing what I need them to do, so I have really no reason to upgrade unless somebody wants to hand some G5s to me. But other than that, I'm not going to do it. Let's go ahead and see what else we got here. All right. Fish facts. Do you use one apex for your whole system? Yes, I have one apex, and it has 1, 2. Let me count. I'm turning away counting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 EB8 bars. This is the classic apex. This isn't the new one, but I do have the new brain. I have old EB8 bars. I have a dose on there. I have, of course, a Trident, and then I run WXMs for the XR15s, and I run the fans and all sorts of stuff in here with it. But yes, one apex and many, many modules. Hey, Travis, great advice and channel. Have you ever kept dwarf angels? No, I have not. Sorry about that. You dose Fido every day and run a UV. I've heard UV kills Fido. Is it true? And is it any concern? I don't know. And I don't care. It's not that big of a concern. It's not really on my radar. If it kills a little Fido, that's fine. I expect it to, it's going to die eventually in the 300. I don't really care, to be honest, man. That kind of stuff. I don't really think about stuff like that because it's almost not even worth thinking about. It's kind of like freaking chasing pH. Does it really matter at the end of the day? Probably not. All right, going down here. You're making me start up a tank and sell frags, but you're not. Well, just got to get the clientele, man. Word of mouth is the best way. A lot of people do that around here is word of mouth. Like I said, YouTube is I'm kind of cheating with YouTube because I started creating content, and then if you guys watch, the coral kind of sells itself because everyone sees a 300 and they're like, okay, yeah, I want to frag from there, or I know where it came from, so yeah, I'm going to buy. So it kind of sells itself. Like I say, if you're not willing to do a YouTube kind of thing, you just got to do word of mouth or local swaps for your best bet. All right, next one. Brandon, any suggestions for a beginner and enemy? I'm thinking of a Duncan. Got a couple of designer clowns. Beginner, I don't know. I'm a big Rose Bubble fan. You guys know they had a few of those in the 30 gallon before we took it down. Huge fan of those, and they grow really quickly. And they're not that expensive. I think you can get them like $50 or $60 depending on what kind or how rosy it is, if you want to use that term. But yeah, Rose Bubbles seem to be pretty good. Moving down here. Setting up a new DIY sump and refugium. Do you run your skimmer before and after the refugium? I've done it both ways. When you're doing a DIY sump, I usually do the refugium in the first section on the left-hand side because it allows you to have the biggest refugium as you can. If you were to use the skimmer in the first section, you have to have that water level be pretty low, and then you're probably going to put the refugium in the middle at that point. And of course, it's just not going to be as big as it could be if it's all the way over to the left. So I usually just set up a baffle that goes probably 3 or 4 inches from the top of the tank and make it as big as you can, as long as you can fit your skimmer and your return pump in the other sections, and then just let it overflow into the skimmer section and then bubble trap over to the return section, and you should be good to go. If you look at the sump on the 125, that's exactly what I did. Just go to the 125 gallon playlist and you should be able to find that. Get a good idea of what it looks like. Okay, so also, do you need to spot feed them? I guess you're talking about the anemones. Let me check here. Yeah, or do they eat whatever in the water column? Okay, well, if you have clownfish that are with the anemones, the clownfish will feed them. When you feed the clownfish, they'll feed the anemones. But if they're not hosting the clowns, then you just got to go ahead and you could give them. I usually give them like mysis shrimp and a little turkey baster kind of thing, and just feed them, and they'll shrink up and grab the food and be good to go. I used to give them like little silver sides, but they just didn't digest them very well. So I just stick to like mysis and stuff, and it's like once a week maybe. Even at that, they are photosynthetic, so you don't necessarily have to feed them, but you can if you want them to grow a little bit quicker. Moving down. Yeah, if I end up skipping your guys' questions, it's just because I'm not seeing them. They're coming in, and we're skipping down here, so I do apologize. Let me scroll up and see if I can find it. Okay, here. Sent you a turtle cube recipe. What should I be dosing in a 10-gallon QT tank? It's a long-term term Phyto and Reef Plus food. Okay, so it's a QT tank for corals, I'm assuming. You shouldn't be dosing anything. You shouldn't have to. You could use water from your main display to keep the elements stable. If it's 10 gallon, you probably don't have a lot of coral in it. So just do a weekly or bi-weekly water change of 10 or 20%, you should be good to go. You shouldn't have to dose anything. I think it'd be with the water volume being too small or being that small, you might have an issue with too many nutrients. Let's go ahead and get back down here. All right. Okay, let's see here. Carlos, I bought a powder brown tang online, arrived breathing heavily, temp acclimated, and put in QT. Now, has now died, suspecting ammonia burn. Too much stress. Any suggestions for future cases? Okay, so I mentioned this before. When you get fish from a bag that have been in there all night long, you can't drip acclimate them. You can float the bag. This is the safest way to do it. Just float the bag for a couple hours, let them get temperature, and then just put a net over a 5-gallon bucket, dump all the water as soon as you open that bag up into the net, and then put the fish directly into the QT tank. You want to bypass any drip acclimation, because as soon as that bag gets exposed to air, the ammonia will start becoming toxic at that point, and it will burn the gills of the fish and probably kill them pretty quickly. Now, I don't know how big the bag was, or how big the fish was, or how much room it had in there, or how much it pissed or shit or whatever. But if it usually takes a couple days for them to a couple of days or weeks before they die of that issue, depending on kind of how stressed out they are. So it could have been multiple things. But I have never bought fish online, and I never will, because it's just... Oh, well, let me rephrase it. Yes, I did. I bought cichlids way back in the day. I bought them from cichliddirect.com, and I lost half of them, and those are freshwater fish. So it's, I don't like buying fish online. Couple reasons: because they're stressed out overnight. Man, these freaking FedEx guys punt my coral boxes all over the place. Imagine what your fish are going through being in a box, and then how stressed they are from that. And then you add the ammonia and all that shit to it. It's just not good. They'd rather just go to the local fish store. Sorry, I went off on that for a little bit. Thinking of rolling a new tune, Shaman or Hunter. Shit. I never played a Hunter. Well, okay, let me rephrase it. I started one a long time ago. Never did anything with it because I think they're dumb. Shaman, I played Enhancement for a long time. A lot of you guys probably wondering what the fuck we're talking about. It's World of Warcraft. And I haven't played in a while. I actually haven't played in like 2 weeks. When it comes down to things, playing a video game or making money and running a business, sometimes, unfortunately, got to be an adult. You got to fucking run a business. You can't play video games. So, yeah, I haven't played in a while. And I don't know when I'm going to go back because I broke my damn keypad as well, so that sucks. But go with Shaman, because Hunter is stupid. Moving down. All right, let's see here. To frag a can, do you have to cut through it? Lady at the local fish store said I could rip the head off and glue it. No, yeah, don't listen to her. Yeah, you don't want to rip the head off. You have to cut through the skeletal structure of the acan with a bandsaw. You do not cut acans with anything but a bandsaw. Don't use pliers. Don't use bone cutters. Don't use anything but a bandsaw, because even with a bandsaw, the stress alone from that, even if you're maneuvering around all the heads and going through, it's still really stressful, and you can still lose a lot of acans. So imagine if you're going in there with bone cutters and just ripping them to pieces and then ripping the heads off. I can't believe she gave you that advice. That's not good. That's not good advice. That's for sure. Then again, I mean, people get bad advice all the time because they don't know what good advice is or what they're talking about. It happens all the time. Just go on YouTube. There's a few YouTubers right now that are kind of getting thrown under the bus for being dumb. All right, let's go ahead. Did you delete your DIY nitrate and phosphate mixing video? I'm trying to reference it to make a new batch of nitrates. Yes, I did. Actually, I put it on private. I put that video on private because it's basically how do I phrase this? I put it on private because I'm basically taking money out of my own hands by giving people free advice like that. So it's okay. I gotta block this guy. 1 second, you gotta go, buddy, because you're an idiot. 1 second. All right. Okay. Actually, I'm not going to block him because I like fucking with him. So I'm going to wait and do that later. Anyways, when it comes to the nitrates and phosphates video, I took it down because I was basically taking money out of my own pocket, giving people free advice. The research that was put into making it and all that good stuff, There's actually a couple YouTubers that copied the video, so you can go fucking find them and see the video there. But no, it's gone. It's on private. I might put it back up later on, but for now it is gone. Next question. Which fish do you recommend for a new, I'm just going to say hobbyist, maybe? Fish in the damsel family seem to be very, I guess, hardy. So clownfish, damsels, chromis, stuff like that. Those are pretty easy fish. Don't get too many of them because we always do that early on because they're like $5 for a fish. You can get as many as you can fit in your tank, and then they just start killing each other. And speaking of that, I've lost this guy actually on the screen right now. It's probably a delay for you guys, but I lost the last chromis in the 300. My wrasse just, I don't know what happened. He was kicking him so hard with his little fins, and he's dead. So I don't have any more wrasse or any more of those black chromises in the 300. I do have one in my my 40 breeder, a 40-gallon shallow reef. Sorry, I'm getting through here. Multiple questions. Let's go see what else we got here. So what is the process clay used to make frag plugs? So hush. Because people, it's just the thing is people don't want to give away secrets. A lot of people spend time trying to figure out what works. And I think that's why people don't really want to talk about it. And some people do give advice, but they don't always give the full truth because there are secrets, just like phyto. There's a lot of videos out there on how to make phytoplankton, but there's certain ways to do it that are kind of finessed over the years that make it grow quicker. You get more at a time, and just less death, stuff like that. So it's all about, there's so many different avenues to go when it comes to making money in this hobby, and a lot of people don't like to share it because it's very easy to rip off someone's idea. And I will admit, as a creator, I mean, I put stuff out there, people take it all the time, and that's all right because I put it out there. It's one of those things. But if it starts costing me money, or I start losing money, or it just becomes an issue, then I don't like that. And I'm assuming the people that make that stuff feel the same way. Let's go ahead and see what we got going on here. Yeah, if you're coming in, hit the thumbs up button, by the way. Appreciate it. Thanks for the super chat. I do have two screens. I actually have three screens. I have one that's running this little background video you guys see here, because I have to do screen share to make that work. And then I have a separate chat, and then I have my program chat that I can highlight. So it's kind of a little multitasking here. All right, let's see what we got going on. Dan, hey Travis, could you go over how to set up water height in different chambers of the sump? I want my return to be shallow, small volume, because I have to use siphoning overflow. Okay. Okay. So when it comes to the setting the height, you just have to basically make the I don't know if you're using acrylic or glass for your chambers, or even Corian. I know that Billy Pipes makes Corian. He can even custom make them for you for your chamber there. So I don't know if you know who he is, but just look up Billy Pipes. You can contact him, because I've actually used those Corian baffles in a client's build, Jeff's once, or 75, and it worked out really well. So you just have to determine, basically, if your skimmer can only be in 9 inches of water, you're going to want to make the baffle about 8.5, because you got to think of the flow coming over. It's going to rise the water up above the rim. So those are just kind of things you got to think about. I don't really know exactly how to answer this question in a way without going through and physically showing you, but just determine ahead of time where you want the water level to be. Make the baffle 1/2 inch smaller than that, and use a marker on the side of the tank to kind of draw out where you want your water levels to be and make the baffles accordingly. So I don't know if that answers your question, Dan, but hopefully it at least gives you somewhat of an idea. Okay. Okay. What are your thoughts on lighting a 40 breeder, mostly SPS tank with 2 Kessels A360Xs? Add narrow reflectors, add T5s on both. Okay, so I'm gonna burp. Damn, shit's spicy. So when it comes to the 40 breeder, 2 360Xs will be more than enough. And you can add T5s if you want. I wouldn't do the narrow lenses. I would, or reflectors. I would just bring them down a little bit so that you don't have too much splash over the rim of the tank. I just added my third 360X to the 40 gallon, to the not the 40 gallon, the grow out tank, or the healing tank. What is it? 50-gallon low boy. I just added my third and just got a lot better. I'll do a video on that later in the week. But 2 should be fine. If you want to add T5s, that's great because T5s fill in a lot of shading. They're a good combo. T5s with anything, any LED is good. I really do like that. If I didn't want to pay $1 million on my electric bill, I would throw T5s over my grow out systems and all the other tanks. But I don't want to do that. So, but yeah, so you should be fine. Just keep them lower and add some T5s. You'll be good. I know there's the Aquatic Life retrofit kit that will work out well for those A360Xs. All right, moving down here. Should I add food to a QT tank in periods between quarantine fish? You can. What I usually do is if I don't have any fish in there and I'm still doing water changes on my main display, I'll just simply take out 50 gallons of water, or 50%, sorry, and then just add that water back in there. I don't know how big your display is or how big your quarantine tank is, so you might want to change those volumes based on that. But I usually just do a water change to keep the active bacteria. You can add a little bit of flake food or fish food every once in a while. It's not a huge deal. But as long as it's not turned off and sitting stagnant, you should be fine. You know, just be aware that you don't want to just throw in a whole bunch of fish at one time if the tank hasn't had any fish for several months, because you might run into a little bit of an ammonia spike. So keep that in mind when you're adding fish to a tank that doesn't really have anything for a while. Moving down here. Shoot, I scrolled all the way down. All right. Okay, here we go. My yellow coarse wrasse missing for 6 weeks is back and eating now. That's a long time for a fish to be missing. I'm assuming it came out at night while you weren't around and just kind of picked and got scraps and whatever wasn't eaten and stuff like that. I don't know what your tank layout is or what your aquascape is, but 6 weeks is a long time for it to go missing. I'm assuming it was there the whole time. You just weren't seeing it. You know, like I have a lawnmower blenny in my 40-gallon shallow reef, and I almost never see him, and I just kind of catch his eyes poking through the holes every once in a while. So he's in there still alive. I just never see him. So it could just be that. But glad it's not dead. I know we talked about that a little while ago. Let's see here. Okay, can you give a shout out to Danny and Jessica for an engagement? Yep, cool. We're watching you live on the road right now. Thank you. And you better not be watching me, and you better be watching the road. I don't need you having any issues with that. Drive safe, and yeah, congratulations. Let's go to move down here. Man, this program, I love it because I can highlight your comments, but man, does it scroll all the way down, and then I got to go all the way back up. Okay, let's see where we are right now. Okay, I bought an encrusting Monty for a rock on the sand bed. I know it grows fast, but how fast should I expect? I don't think I can answer that question, man. It's really dependent on the system and depending. You know, I have some corals that do well in the same water volume, but a different tank, opposed to, if that makes sense. So corals that are kind of growing slow in the 300, I have them in the 40 gallon, and the 40 gallon, they're growing a lot faster. So same water volume, just different lighting, a little bit different par. It's just different flow. I would say just have it where it can grow out and you can frag it or move it around if you need to. But I can't tell you how fast you should expect it to grow. Moving down here. Okay, so where do you recommend keeping phosphate, nitrates, and alk? Okay, so when it comes to nitrates and phosphates, and you know, I talk about this, but I end up messing it up myself, not paying attention to it. Ugh. But anyway, so you want to keep your phosphates at around 0.07 to 0.15. Seems to be a pretty good range. If you start getting down between under 0.07, around that 0.02 kind of right where I'm at right now, you start having some paleness issues, and you could even kill off a colony that's been growing for 2 years, and hopefully that doesn't happen. But yeah, so you want to keep it up there a little bit. And I noticed that if you get up around 0.18 ish, I start getting cyanobacteria. It happens. So just keep it down under that 0.15. You should be fine for phosphates. Now, when it comes to nitrates, 3 to 5 ppm is pretty average. I've seen a lot of successful tanks, 10 plus ppm. It just really depends on what you have in the tank. If you have a lot of soft corals, stuff like that, they really like the extra nutrients. Just kind of depends on your system. When it comes to alk, it's not so much the level. There is a recommended range, of course. There is that between 7 and 11 DKH. I like to keep mine between 8.5 and 9.5, and more specifically at 9. It kind of fluctuates depending on what's going on, if I'm making any adjustments, if I'm cutting up the tank a lot, which is something that I gotta slow down on cutting the tank, because I had like 600 frags healing over the last 3 weeks, and it's been a mess. It's been a pretty stressful mess, and I'm just not going to do that again. But yeah, so just keep it stable. That's really what I'm getting to. So it doesn't really matter exactly where you're at. Sometimes tanks really like being at 7, some really like being at 10, but as long as it's stable and it's not fluctuating between points, that's what you want to look for. So yeah, moving down. Okay. Okay. Okay, what do you think? Do you think that corals are hardier than fish when it comes to shipping? Yes. So the best time of year to ship corals is the winter time. Like right now is the best time to order coral. I'm not just saying that because I sell coral. I'm telling you because I have a very, very low DOA right now, which is dead on arrival, but it's even lower during the winter time because you could add a 40-hour heat pack, and as long as they don't leave it out in the cold or in the back of a truck all day. And that's why we do early morning delivery, 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. or 12 p.m., depending on kind of where you are in the country. Even though I paid for 10 a.m. delivery, like when I'm going out west to California, sometimes it still doesn't get there to 3. So I can only imagine what time it would get there if I paid for a 3 p.m. delivery. So I'm kind of bummed about that. But it's, it is what it is. You can't really do much about it. So it's a lot easier during the wintertime to just simply ship coral because you can add the heat packs. During the summertime, you have to add ice, which only lasts so long, and you can put a pretty decent amount of ice in there, but there's a fine line between putting too much, causing the corals to get cold, and keeping them cold long enough to get to their destination. With a heat pack, it's pretty steady heat as long as it's not really a tight-fitting box. And like I said, I use 40-hour heat packs, so I can keep the box relatively warm for quite a while. Now, there's always exceptions, depending on what happens during transition or what the hell's the word I'm looking for? Transport. So 9.5 out of 10 times I have 0 issues shipping. Never shipped fish, and I won't ship fish. It's just too much involved, and it's just not worth the risk, man. I don't even like taking fish from one tank to another, let alone shipping across the country. So kudos to everybody who does that. Moving down. I hear to grow acros all about water quality. Yeah. And the thing with acros is I love growing SPS, and I love growing fast growing acros and stuff like that, just because it's good for business and it makes the tank look full really quickly. But it just takes, like, for example, this week, it's been a really busy week. Last 2 weeks have been extremely busy. And then I was sick and I just couldn't keep up with everything. So the tank kind of takes a back seat when there's a lot of projects going on and other stuff that needs to be taken care of. And unfortunately, if you neglect a tank for only a few days when it comes to this, with acros, sometimes that's all it takes, or even an extra water change like I talked about earlier. And you could wipe out an SPS tank very quickly. So yes, it's a great business to be in, but it doesn't take much. And it's kind of stressful. I mean, you just can't go anywhere. You can't do certain things unless you got staff taking care of the tanks or able to monitor it, make sure if you're going on vacation or something. It's just, I went off on that too. Acros are great. SPS are great, but man, they can be a pain in the ass sometimes. Moving down. What the hell? Live stream in the shower. That's the case. Hey, man, you do what you got to do. Hopefully you don't ruin your phone. You can put it in a plastic bag, I suppose. Unless you got one of those waterproof phones. That's rich money, man. I can't do that. Moving down. My forest fire Digi is showing STN. Added 2 bulb T5 light to boost par. Par was 200. Now it's 300. Is increased par causing STN? It can. To make a fire Digi STN, man, you got to be doing something. Because they're a relatively hardy coral. If you went from 200 to 300, I'm assuming it's probably more than that. I just feel like 100 par really isn't a major difference. Is there anything chewing on it? You look at the tank at night to see if there's any emerald crabs or anything kind of picking at it, because I've ran into that issue before. So I would see if there's something else going on. I mean, the par is a factor. Was there any spikes in alkalinity? As in, when you added these 2 bulbs, did you get a lot more growth, or did your alkalinity plummet? Because that could be something. If you add more light, sometimes that stimulates growth and alkalinity will drop, and that will cause STN. Nutrients, of course, if they bottom out, will cause STN. Or for those of you who are wondering what that is, it's slow tissue necrosis, which is pretty common on SPS if you fuck shit up, because I do it all the time. Moving down. Oh, God. Still a place. Okay. I'm in New Jersey. I'll place an order in April. But yeah, don't do that. Moving down. Moving down. I told myself it would be good. I'm not calling people out in the live stream. I'm going to be good today because it's just not going to happen. We got 20 minutes left. This is moving quickly. All right, let's see here. My PO4 is 0. My acros have perfect color, but no polyps extension and no growth. Do you think this can be, yeah, 0 in color? I don't know that's what I tell people is sometimes I think corals in my tank look really good until I go to my buddy's house and this guy's got a great amount of nutrients and everything looks great. And then my colors look like shit. So, it's all perspective. I guarantee if you're rocking 0 phosphates, coral colors are probably not that great. You know why I know? Because I do the same thing. It happens all the time. Not all the time, but it happens frequently if I don't pay attention to the tank. So I would say no polyps, no polyp extension, and no growth are pretty good indication that your nutrients are low. Corals need to uptake nutrients to grow the zooxanthellae, to produce energy to grow. And if you don't have any nutrients, you're just starving the corals. And I'm pretty positive that your coral colors are not that great either, just because of everything else you said. Thanks for the super chat, by the way. What is that? I'm trying to get over here and see. New York Bumpkin Reefing. Okay, cool. Thanks for the super chat, man. Let me, I'm going to get that question now because I don't want to miss it. Any reason why my new member badge doesn't show up when I chat? Thanks for the video, honest. I don't know. You want me to look at, let me head over and see if I can find you on the list. It should show up. It didn't show up just now, but it should. I've been having some issues with YouTube and their membership stuff. I'm trying to see. I'm trying to find you. I'm not seeing you in the list, man. So that could be the reason. Maybe your card didn't go through. I don't know, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing you in the new members. I see that John just came back in. I don't see you, man. So that's probably why it's not showing up. Let's go here. Moving down. All right, there we go. I'm going back up, guys. So I don't know. You hit me up an email if you have any issues with that. I'll try to figure it out for you. I know that YouTube's been kind of weird with that system lately. Oh shit, I lost my spot. Oh man. Okay. All right, moving down here. Tim, Hex, did you ever keep shrimp with the Melanoris? Has he been semi-reef safe with inverts? I have no issues with inverts with this guy. He's a model citizen, except for killing that chromis, but that chromis was an asshole, so I don't care. But he's never done anything. I've never seen him pick at an invert. He picks at the rocks. He sleeps in the rocks. A lot of you guys ask about the Melanoris wrasse in the bare bottom tank. This guy sleeps in a cave. It's actually in the middle right rock structure, right underneath that Cali Tor. He sleeps right in the cave. I see him every night in there with a little belly. Yeah, he's done fine. I think he's been in bare bottom. Yeah, he's been in bare bottom the whole time that I've owned him, which is probably 4 years, 3 years, 4 years. He was really small when I got him. But yeah, he's fine. He doesn't really do shit though. But then again, Melanoris wrasse, or fish in general, is pretty much personality based. I've had 6-line wrasse that did good in one tank, and then I had not the same 6-line wrasse, but another 6-line wrasse in another tank, and that guy was a prick. So it could just be the type of personality you have. You get lucky with it. Okay, moving down. Hey Hex, any tips for keeping a Ghani happy in a mixed reef tank? Flow. Make sure you have enough flow. I find that but there's a fine line between too much flow and just enough. That's why I have mine at the bottom right, kind of where it's not getting blasted by any power heads. The flow has to go all the way around the tank before it circulates back over past this coral, so it's never getting directly blasted. And I found that when it was, or when I had a different version of that in the 125, it just didn't do well. So it's one of those corals that you should place on the rock, see if it opens up. If it opens up and it's happy, then leave it there. If it doesn't, then go ahead and try moving it and seeing in a couple weeks kind of if it opens up. Give it some time in between. It's just one of those corals you kind of got to move around, which is pretty easy anyways. Just leave it on a frag disc or a frag plug and just kind of plop it around and see if it opens up. Should be good to go. All right, here we go here. Adam. Hi, Travis. Just set up my first full time frag tank. What are your thoughts on fish in a frag tank or algae on pest control? All right. So when it comes to fish in a frag tank, I always do tangs because tangs are pretty good cleanup. And if you want to do any kind of fish for pests, it would be a wrasse of some sort. 6-line does pretty good. Melanoris also wrasse also does well, and the yellow coarse wrasse does pretty well. So, yeah, what are your thoughts on fish in a frag tank? Yeah, I just use tangs. I really like tangs. I'm a big tang guy. But I will say that my Blamingi tang will not be going into our new tank in the next couple of years. I'm actually going to donate her to the aquarium, most likely, because the new build, like I said, with every build that we do, we should learn from the mistakes that we made. And I know that I can't be adding any fish that have the potential of getting over 1 foot to 2 foot long in a short period of time. My next tank is probably the last tank I'll ever own. I say that now, but shit, who knows what happened? But I mean, it's going to be a 1,000-gallon reef, so it's probably my last major reef tank in house that I'm going to have for a very long time. And I can't be throwing a Blamingi tank in a fully stocked Acropora tank because they just don't do well. They really don't. They're so clumsy. I guess that's the word I'm looking for. And I mean, this girl just comes through every morning. I look at her and I'm like, oh, I wonder what the hell she broke today. I mean, she just breaks colonies left and right. I mean, I'm pulling out frags every day, and the top of her head is all freaking jacked up. So I did learn that I'm only putting in tangs like yellow tangs and sail fins and just fish tangs in general that don't get really, really big. And if they do, it takes a long time. I mean, if you guys remember that video I made where I was pulling the glue out of the fish's mouth, that little fish was the Blamingi tang, and that was, 2 years ago? So it's crazy how big she is. Yeah, sorry I went off on that, but I figured I'd share that with you guys. Next question. What happened to the perk that included the Skype call? I got a new build and progress and additional perspective would be great. I took that perk off YouTube because I'm probably going to replace it something similar and cheaper, like a Discord channel. I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do yet, but I was talking to the people that did sign up for that perk in particular, and it was just easier to set up a by appointment basis. So if you want help with something via Skype call or on the phone, just email me and you can set up the phone call. You can set it up. We just set the appointment for how many hours you want, and I bill you ahead of time. And once the invoice is paid, then you go on the calendar for that time slot. So it's just easier to do it that way. I didn't have to kind of check in with people every month, and when they wanted a Skype call, they just kind of, if you want something, you can just contact me and set that up. I do have to let you guys know that that stuff gets booked out pretty quickly, and I can only do one a day, usually, depending on my schedule, and it's usually in the evening, Eastern Standard Time, like after 7 when I'm done shipping and stuff, because in the mornings, it's getting orders ready, getting a video made for the day. The afternoon's all packing, and then the evening is kind of my time to catch up on stuff, and that's when I would do that. So thanks for the super chat, by the way. Moving down. All right, moving down here. God, we're on 15 minutes left. Okay. Your opinion on coral frags bringing in pests like ick velvet. Just wondering how long to quarantine my corals so that fish don't get sick. Spent way too much money in QT and fish. Okay. Well, the thing is they could come in on the water. It could, I don't know if it can necessarily attach to the frag plug and all that kind of stuff. Depends on what your quarantine method is. But it's just safe to do a 30-day minimum of quarantine for any coral. I try to push, depending on the corals, if it's LPS and you're trying to avoid verminted snails and shit like that, you might want to put that quarantine out for like 2 or 3 months. That's a lesson that I learned early on. So I know that sucks. Some people are like, how the hell can you wait 2 to 3 months of quarantine for an LPS coral? That just seems crazy. Well, when you get verminted snails and they start ruining your tank, well, it's not that crazy if you really have to deal with it. And you guys know that I put that LPS, that big Lobo, through quarantine, and it just wasn't long enough, and I still got them. So, yeah, that sucks. So I would say 30 days minimum for any coral, and if you're going LPS, go longer just for the sake of verminted snails and shit like that. And just because you take them off does not mean they're gone. They're sneaky little bastards. So, yep, hopefully it answers your question. Hey, Hex, have you had any health problems with your powder blue tang? No, this thing came in strong from Scott's tank, Scott from Roscoe's Reef, when he broke down his 90. This tang has been going strong. He's gotten fatter. He's a little bit of a brute. But what's good is a lot of the tanks are around the same size, so I don't really have any issues. No health problems, not that I know of. I mean, he gets beat up every once in a while. He has like the sailfin and him really go at it. I don't know. They're mortal enemies or whatever, but they'll end up scratching each other up, and it gets I don't want to say it gets infected, but it just doesn't look really good for a couple weeks. But yeah, that's about it. No, nothing major. Just moving down. Shit, that's too far down. That is way too far down. Jesus, man. All right, so I'm on minute 19:25, so it's 19. So yeah, I'm about 25 minutes behind. All right, moving down here. I'm trying to scroll through and try to get some questions, as many as I can in the next 14 minutes. All right, what lights are you using for your small breeder tanks? In my system, like small breeder tanks, like if you were to have a reef, like a 40-gallon breeder, I would use something like HD primes work really well. A360Xs work good. You can do radions if you want. For me personally, I use radions over my grow out tanks, which are 50-gallon low boys. I have HD primes over my 40-gallon shallow reef, and I have A360Xs over the 50-gallon low boy healing tank. So I kind of have a mix of everything in here, and T5s and radions on the 300. So I guess it just depends on your budget. Moving down. Let me see. Let me get this other on. Sean here. This is my New York Pumpkins Reefing. I paid for my membership under this YouTube account, so I will have to contact them and see how I can chat as. Okay, yeah. So you probably just have to switch accounts. That's probably what you're going to have to do, man. I'm not sure how that works. I think it's just all linked to the credit card. I don't know all that stuff. But you might want to contact them. And good luck, because last time I tried to contact YouTube, man, I was on hold forever. Luckily, there's nothing too serious. Okay. Next question. What am I looking for when quarantining? I try to say that. It just didn't work out. Quarantining LPS corals. I've dipped and some stuff fell off. Not sure what most of it is. Most of it was. But what should I be looking out for? When it comes to LPS, you're just looking for fermented snails, really. Of course, flatworms, stuff like that. They usually come off during the dipping process, and you'll probably notice them on the glass if you do end up getting them. Fermented snails are usually what LPS are known for, is because it gets in the nooks and crannies of the skeletal structure, and you don't see them until they're in the tank. It's like 3 or 4 months later, and then it's too late. So, yeah, I'm debating if I'm even going to do LPS on my next build. It's just because everything that's going on in the next build, I have to. I can't fuck it up, because I don't get a second chance. With the 300, it was a second chance for me, I guess, the third chance or whatever from the 125, and it's all learning experience. But the next build, I'm not starting that thing over, so I don't know if I'm even going to be putting LPS in that system. Moving down. What is your go-to camera for filming? I just use a phone. Moving down. I feel bad I'm not going to get all your guys' questions, but I got to get to work here. I have, 30, 35 orders left of those freaking racks. Yeah, so I got a lot of stuff I got to get done. But we will continue this next Sunday, so don't worry about that. Moving down. Hex, how long can you take most corals out of the water to frag, etc. before an issue? Well, okay, so intentionally, I have left you can keep them out for like 20 minutes. It's not really a problem. I have left, I don't like to admit this, but I walked away from fragging and left frags out for like an hour, and I put them in the tank, and they still survived. So that could have just been my luck. They were easy corals, like bird's nests and shit like that, so they still survived. But yeah, I think 10 minutes is probably a good starting point for most people. You don't want it to dry out completely. Definitely not with Acropora, but just keep an eye on it. Don't walk away and do other things like me, because you will forget. Just like filling up my ATO, I will not even walk away from my ATO now, because every time I fill it up, I'm like, oh, I got to do this, and then all of a sudden I tripped the breaker because the water got over the floor, got over to the outlet, and the GFCI went off, and I was nope. Just pay attention to your shit, and you should be fine. Moving down. Oh, hey Travis, do you still dose amino acids and phytoplankton? So I dose phytoplankton every other day, based on the water volume, based on my nutrients. I'm doing 50 milliliters every other day right now. And by the way, if you want phytoplankton, you can get it from my website. Shit's actually, never mind, it's out of stock right now. It'll be back in stock tomorrow or the day after. one of those days. But yeah, I took it out of stock because it got to the point that I just couldn't grow fast enough, and I don't want to designate a whole area for phytoplankton, so it is what it is. Now, rest of the question, when it comes to amino acids, I dose refuel, aquavitro refuel. I dose that twice a week, 100 milliliters for 500 gallons. I do potassium twice a week. I do iodine twice a week, and I dose AcroPower twice a week, which is basically just a magical elixir, sugar water, essentially. I do know a guy who said that he drank refuel once, or not refuel, but AcroPower once. He said it was just sugar water. I don't know. He was drunk when he said it, so you can't necessarily believe drunk people. Moving down. Did all the money you make from selling corals pay for your tank in time? Yes. The corals that I sold the first year that this tank, when I started fragging this tank, 6 months in, I think. And it paid for itself within a year, let's say. Yeah, roughly a year. Yeah. So that's actually a good justification for getting things, is just to make some money selling coral. It's really, you don't have to make excuses like, hey, man, I sold 20 frags last week at a frag swap. I got extra, $100 or $200, $300. Let me go buy something for my tank. So, yeah, it did. Definitely did pay for it. Next down here, I got to move down to Glenn. Glenn, free frags for anyone around the Chattanooga. I got to move this screen over here. There we go. There we go. Free frags for anyone around the Chattanooga area. Hit me up. I need to dump the rest of my frag tank. So you guys can hit up Glenn. Thanks for the super chat, by the way. Moving down here, we got 8 minutes left. You guys are just coming in. We're only doing an hour tonight. And hit the thumbs up button. I don't know how many I have, but it should be more. Moving down. Why not use cheap gel packs instead of ice? Obviously, ice is cheaper, but the gel packs can't cost more than the heat packs. They do. Actually, they do. They cost quite a bit more than heat packs. I think I can get, 250 heat packs for like $70, something like that. Gel packs are not that cheap. They're not at all. At least if they are, I haven't been able to find them, and I've been looking actively for a long time. Man, stuffy nose is coming in. Now the printer seems pretty loud, but yeah. So I use ice. It works out fine. And like I said, my DOA is already really low. I spend quite a bit of time making sure the stuff is secure before it ships out. And sorry for the sniffles, by the way. But yeah, if you find them that are cheap, feel free to send me a link. My email is fishofhex@gmail.com. Send me a link, and I'll be happy to go that route. But for now, it's not. That's another thing, is I haven't increased my prices for shipping. And even though I'm paying for heat packs and extra stuff and dip and all sorts of stuff, I give away, I don't know, $60 in Coral RX dip, 5 milliliters a shot every single month. And that's the stuff. I don't charge anybody for that stuff. I just give it away as because I guess I'm a nice guy in some aspects. Don't get that opinion from everybody, though, for sure. I think one guy congratulated me for not swearing in a video the other day. I thought it was pretty funny. Oh, it's in the video right now. You can see my Melanoris wrasse eating a starfish. But yeah, I know where I was going with that. Send me a link if you find the ice packs for cheap. Moving down. Shit, I'm only at 40. Glenn, would you glue down corals to the bottom glass with super glue? My tangs and flow are killing me. I guess you can. I've never had success with it because usually there's coralline there, and glue is a little weird when it comes to attaching to things. I would say if you have some kind of like overflow might be the best bet. I've gotten a lot of stuff to stick to them, but pure glass at the bottom of the tank, never been successful. So, and I like the way the coralline looks anyways. So I just kind of stick with that. Appreciate all the support, guys, and all the super chats. I really do. I'm bummed that I'm going to be leaving in 5 minutes, but sometimes we got to make sacrifices to get other things done. All right, moving down here. I'm going to try to get some more recent questions. I feel bad I'm skipping stuff, but I don't really know what else to do with 5 minutes left. Yeah, I gotta get some background music or something, just so I'm not sitting here pure silence or you guys hear the fans and shit going on. All right, okay, here we go. Hey, Travis, do you have any experience with a KH director alkalinity monitor? I have problems getting it to calibrate. I have never used it, man. Sorry, I feel bad, and I don't have any information for that. YouTube's an amazing thing. I'm sure somebody has a video out on how to take care of that. You just got to put it in there real quick. I'm sure you'll find it. Okay. Next question. How much elk swing can an SPS tank tolerate one day? I know 0 changes is ideal, but I'm dosing by hand and now, and I can, and it can swing up to 0.2 a day. Do you think this will kill my corals? No, 0.2 is not really that big of a deal. Yeah, if you're dropping a whole point a day, that might be a problem, but I don't think that's going to be an issue. I noticed with the Trident that I have a little bit of a dip in the morning. And then it increases, I have a little bit of it increasing at night, my elk, and then during the day it decreases based on growth, and then it's just this fluctuation. I'll show you guys later on when I do an update on that. But yeah, the tank's going to fluctuate naturally throughout the day based on, depending on how much coral you have growing. So I wouldn't really worry about it too much. You just don't want to be dropping whole points every single day. That might be a problem. And it depends on what tank what kind of coral you have. And I know you said SPS, but is it like easy SPS, like bird's nest, Montes and shit like that? Or is it like acros that might not like that swing as much? So, oh God, why is the same question? Like, okay, so you guys asked this 3 times. I don't know why, not you personally, but 3 different people did. Why the name Fisher Hex? Okay, so sum this up and I'm going to head out afterward. When I was in the military, before that, when I went to school, I was learning hexadecimal programming for computers. Hexdex just came about somehow. Don't remember exactly how that happened. When I went overseas, I used the codename Hex, and then here we are. I don't know. That's pretty much how it came about. That's kind of a lame story. Sorry, it's nothing cool, but yeah. I'll find you gel pack, homie. Bulk spot. Yeah, let me know. I appreciate the email. Okay, guys. So we're gonna be heading out here. I appreciate all the support, all the positive comments you guys have given so far. I would like to read them. I feel bad passing up on them because they're not questions. But I appreciate the support on that. I am actually heading out here in the next 2 minutes, and I'm looking to get at least 3 videos out this week. I'm trying to get caught up on these orders. As I mentioned, there is a holiday tomorrow, so I don't have to ship. That gives me a whole 24 hours to try to get caught up on things. And that's the way it is right now. I am striving to get a video out every single day. I have the content, I have it ready, and I'm ready to make the content. It's just, do I have the time to? And that's just kind of been an issue. Coral sales are great. Support you guys have for the channel is great. But unfortunately, only one person. I just can't do everything. And I don't really have an excuse other than the fact that I wish I had 2 more arms so I can do other shit while I'm trying to get things done. But yeah. So I'm going to answer. Let me see if I can get one more question done before I go. Travis, thanks for the awesome channel. Quick question. Thoughts on a hang in the back skimmer for a 75 gallon with limited space and sump? You can do hang in the back skimmer. Make sure that you're using drip loops and there isn't an outlet anywhere near it. No power strips, no nothing. And keep an eye on it so it doesn't overflow. And you can even run the drain line from the cup down to a collection bin with a sensor if you can do an apex float sensor. So if it does start to overflow, it will fill up the reservoir and then it will turn off. Once it gets too high, it'll turn off the skimmer so you don't flood your house. That's the only issue with hanging on back skimmers is that they will overflow from time to time. And if it's on the back of your tank, it's going straight to the floor or into your outlet or power strip. So just keep that in mind. I'd hate to see you burn your fucking house down over something like that. All right, so that's it, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Hit the thumbs up. You guys can add more questions in the comment section if you have anything, and I will try to get into there tomorrow and answer them. All right, so that's it, guys. I will see you later. Peace.